Welcome to the Cold One with the Boys podcast, where we bring you new content creators every week. We are your hosts, Asen and Nathan. I realized on last week's episode with Casual Luxury, I said it was episode 55 in the intro, but I was lying. I'm a liar. But this is actually episode 55. It's titled Coding Addons with special guest Ellypse. He is one of the coders and creators behind the Total Roleplay 3 mod for World of Warcraft, which is widely used on role-playing servers. We talk about the coding behind the mod and how creating a mod works, what the process was for TRP3 specifically, and we add in a segment where we ask him questions from users on roleplay servers from World of Warcraft. So that's fun. So let's sit back, relax, and open a cold one.
Yeah. I just wanna crack that door with that boys, Yeah. No more baby mamas, no more kids to watch, cause I got babysitters. Now it's time for licking, come on, give it to me, cause it's my escape. Now it's time to annihilate, let my troubles all die away. I'm on a diet, Please do not try this, cause do not invite it. I'm dripping in go call the Midas. This night I was excited, it got me reignited. I've been waiting so long I can't fight it, but now I'm Mike Tyson inside, I'm on fire. It ain't nothing like a true pro.
It was funny, Sam was actually telling me that the guest we were having this week was French, and that English wasn't your first language. And I immediately went to my wife that took one semester of French in high school, and I was like, tell me all the French you know. And then she was telling me like the most random stuff, like, you know, the little phrases that you would pick up from your first semester in like a language class. And then I had her come in, I was like, tell me all those phrases again, like 15 minutes before we sent you the link, and I'm trying to remember them all, and I can't, so sorry.
Je m'appelle Asen. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
The only one I know is je ne sais pas, and that's about it.
That's a good one to know.
No, je ne sais pas. It's with a P, I think. I don't know.
Je ne sais pas.
Yes.
Oh,
see?
I suck at French.
There you go.
Anyway, so we have Ellypse here with us, which is one of the creators of TRP3, which is an add-on for World of Warcraft, very popularly used on roleplay servers to actually create a profile and really immerse yourself into a roleplay experience on the game. So, like for TRP3, first of all, I want to know, like, how do you make an add-on? What kind of coding languages do you use to make an add-on for WoW, or does it have its own specific API?
So the language is Lua, which is a language that is mostly used for video games. Basically, it's a scripting language, so kind of like JavaScript, but it's exposing functions from the C code of the game. So basically, the developers of World of Warcraft are using functions within their games. And when they want to expose this function to the UI, so even their own UI, they are creating bridges to the Lua language. And then all those functions are available for everyone to use with some protections for example, casting spells. And so it's all in Lua, and there is also the UI that can be done in XML. So you're basically describing the layout of your UI in one XML file that is read once by the game and used to generate the frames and the buttons and everything.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I went to school a little bit for coding, so I don't understand Lua at all, but I do understand the XML part at least. So is like how long would it take? I mean, from the ground up, were you a part of the TRP3 team before 3?
Yeah, so I joined during Total Roleplay 2, so I participated in creating Total Roleplay 3 from scratch. Most of the groundwork was done by my colleague Telco Straz, because at that time I was still learning Lua, so a lot of the UI and a lot of the ground part, the data exchange and all of these very complex layers are not my, let's say, field of expertise. So my colleague did that, and I was still learning Lua and trying to do more of UI animation. And lately, since I gained more skills, I was able to do more deep features. But basically, for me, since it is a hobby and I'm not doing it like all day, all week, it took me maybe 2 years to actually master Lua and know how to, if I have an idea, actually make the idea happen. You can very quickly modify an existing add-on. You can very quickly create an add-on that is just a slash command that is gonna run something. But if you want to do some very extensive UI and like multiple windows that open, you need to have a grasp of the bigger picture that takes some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I know about Lua is when my game shut off and it says Lua error, and I'm like, all right, cool. I don't know what that means, and then it feeds me a whole bunch of code. They're like, would you like to copy and paste this and send it to our people? I'm like, no, just fix it and don't let it happen again. Like,
yeah, well,
it's
you
annoying.
should send it. That's how it gets fixed.
I know, but
Yeah, Nathan.
that's one of those things I never do. Like, I'm so angry at the time that it crashes and it pops up with that code and it's like, please send this. I'm like, no, damn it. And I just click out of it because I'm mad. I guess I'll have to start paying attention.
I had this crazy idea at some point to make it so that it uses the Twitter integration to basically generate a screenshot of the Lua error, send it to a Twitter account, and so people could report the bugs from within the game. But I never had the time to get around to do that. But the fact that you have to copy paste and then open curse or whatever, sure, it makes it harder to report the errors.
It doesn't make it harder. It's just I'm lazy. Like it's literally a laziness factor. Your typical lazy American. Like I'm not willing to copy a few like sentences of script and paste it and send it to them. But if there was a button that was like just click here and it'll send it to us, and like I didn't have to do anything else, I'd probably do it honestly. But I don't know.
I think that's actually what it is. It's, these days, it just says send request or something like that.
Oh, well, see, I don't pay that much attention. Like I said, I'm in a rage whenever it crashes, so.
Yeah, no, for Lua errors, you cannot actually send it. The add-ons have no way to actually send data from inside the add-on to a server or whatever. That's proprietary to Blizzard. So that's why I had this crazy idea using the Twitter integration, because that's the only way to actually get data out of the game without running a client like the Warhead client or the WeCoras client that they created recently.
Yeah. So what kind of made you want to join the Total RP team to work on something like this? Is it just because you were into roleplay and you wanted something like that to exist, or what was the thought behind it?
So when I joined Total RP, the whole Total RP project, my friend Telcostras was working on Total RP 2, which was very popular in France, on the French servers. Also on some US and UK rounds, but less so. And basically on the French realm, everyone were using Total RP. My roleplay doesn't exist on the French servers, mainly because it's not translated. Also, same for the Spanish community. Since it's in Spanish, they use this one because my roleplay is not localized. So I was using this one. It was back at the end of Mist of Pandaria. And the author stopped working on it. He wanted to stop the game. So basically, I was using this add-on a lot with my community, and then there was the patch. I think it was the Siege of Orgrimmar patch, and something changed with the code of the sliders within the game, and the add-on completely broke. And so I needed it to work. So I just I was still studying at that time, so I had a lot of free time on my hands. So basically, I just went into the code. I didn't know Lua. I didn't know what to do, but I looked at what was the issues. I tried to debug it. It was not very nice at that point, but I made it work. And so I shared a private version, because on Curse, only the author of the add-on can upload the add-on. Of course, it's like copyright. And so privately on my guild forum, I shared this version. Then people say, oh, I want it. So I shared it on my server forum. And then I contacted the author. I asked, okay, I have this version. I don't care about rights. I just want it to work. So please take it and upload it to Curse. And basically he said, oh, I can add you to Curse, and then you can continue working on it. And so basically it was out of necessity. So I first started fixing the bugs in Total Roleplay 2, and then I introduced a few tiny features, basically just me having ideas, trying to see how I can make it work, because my knowledge at that point was very low still. So just out of necessity, basically.
Yeah.
So you didn't have any like prior schooling or education with coding?
Schooling, yes. I was in my 3rd year of study of computer science.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I had the knowledge of JavaScript, Java, and XML, so it helped a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was a fan of TRP2 at the time. I was one of the US players that actually used TRP2 over MRP just because I liked
one of the 3.
Yeah, one of the 3, yeah. Just because I like the customizability, and actually a lot of the people in my guild at the time used TRP2 as well, but it was a hard sell for a lot of people because of how complex it can be and how it looks on the outside. It was very clunky, but the customizability was just amazing. And then I love, now into TRP3, it takes basically the good parts of TRP2 and simplifies it so much that now I don't see any MRP on US servers. It's all TRP3.
That was basically the decision behind making Total Roleplay 3 and not just working again forever on Total Roleplay 2. It was we wrote the code from scratch, and so you have Total Roleplay 3 and Total Roleplay 3 Extended, because one of the main criticism is that people, they have the choice between My Roleplay and Total Roleplay 2, and they're like, one is very simple, you have just your character sheet, and one has all the bells and whistles. And so one of the main goal of Total Roleplay 3 was to make it so that people who only want a character sheet, they can just do that and it's all good.
Yeah.
That's me. I'm the one that just wants a character sheet. Like I can't deal with like writing my own biography that's 10 years long. Like I literally, I think I had somebody in our guild, like I have delved in and out of role play so many times because the Sin's always, well, he's not wanting me to do it, but like I see him getting immersed in it, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try it again. So I went hardcore with like one character, and I didn't even do much with it. Like I ended up having somebody else like write my little story, and I stuck it in there, and then because like I'm good at filling out the character sheets, like I like to like design my character, but when it comes to like writing, like I'm terrible. I'm not a writer or a storyteller or whatever. I'm the guy that like I play a mute player most of the time. That way I don't have to talk. I just act out signs or something. But
you should make an add-on called Casual RP just for him.
Exactly. I would use that, dude. They would know the plebs from the real RPers that way. I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah. But I really like that. The extended version, I don't use that either, but I understand with the extended version you can actually like make quests and things like that.
What?
Yeah.
For real?
Those features were in Total Roleplay 2, and we are bringing them back in extended. It takes some time. It's basically, if you know Griffon Herd Addons, unfortunately it hasn't been updated a lot lately, and basically we're trying to have our own way of doing those. One of the main differentiation with Griffon Herd Addons is that we're trying really hard to have security, because in Total Roleplay 2, like in Griffon Herd Addons, there were issues with people giving each other's items that will suddenly make you shout very nasty stuff in the middle of Stormwind.
Yep.
So, for example, now if you give someone an item from Extended that makes you shout, the user will be prompted to accept, basically like when you install an app on your phone, to agree to actually shout. Or there is lately I introduced this macro effect that basically can run any macro command, so you can imagine how crazy it could be, and you have to accept before you actually run this effect.
Yeah, there was speaking of macros, back in Warlords of Draenor, there was an officer in my guild that had a macro that kicked everyone out of the guild.
Ooh, I remember that. That caused a lot of shit.
And it was an accident, apparently. But it was clicked, and there's no prompt to say yes or no, and it just happened, and he kicked like 200 people.
I heard about Wikoraz that will do that also, and it even happened on streams, I think.
Yeah, it's it can be pretty bad. But Griffin Heart items, I love the idea of Griffin Heart items if it's done correctly. But I agree, there was a lot of stuff like that, like you said, where it made people yell obscene things, or it would actually play like an in-game sound or in-game music. Like there were certain items you could add an effect on them. When you clicked on them, it played like the music from a different part of like a different zone.
Yeah.
And you would just hear that, and you'd be in Stormwind or whatever, and you would just hear that and be like, what am I listening to? And it was just odd. But yeah, there definitely should be prompts and maybe some boundaries on what can be done from it. But I love the idea of it.
There was another add-on that somebody was telling me about that they were working on, where there was people that could make their own quests, and I don't know, it was going to change like almost the whole UI, and it was going to add like speech bubbles to quest givers, the NPCs, that whenever you click on the quest, instead of having to read it, it was going to have like a face pop up and like read you the dialogue of the quest and stuff like that. And then I think Blizzard sent them I don't know if it was a cease and desist, but they told them they weren't going to allow them to make the game or make the add-on.
Yeah, that was Bellular, but the issue Blizzard had is basically they would rewrite the content of the quest text to make it more, how do you say, grabs your attention more, like more interesting, actually. And so they would make it so that when you go, for example, if you go to Goldshire and you have to collect the candles from the kobolds, they will actually make, well, first they would voice act the dialogues. That's what they wanted, and also rewrite the dialogues, but you still have the same quest objectives. And what Blizzard had issue with is that basically you are rewriting their game, so you are modifying their content, and that they don't agree on. But for example, I have this other add-on that I'm doing, Storyline, which is a modification for the quest text, and that they have no, modification for the quest UI, not the text. I'm displaying the quest text, the same one, but the UI is with these 3D models. There is also immersion that is using the talking head feature. And with those modifications, they are okay with. They are okay with Extended creating its own quest, as long as you don't modify the existing content, and so you are impacting on the actual experience from the game.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what I've seen. I've seen it on stream before, of people having those add-ons where when they have a quest, it actually reads on the bottom of their screen, like with the talking head, so it's a little more immersive on how you're looking at the quest.
I don't know why they would put up such a big stink about it. Like, I understand it; it's a copyrighted game, but they're not changing the game. They're just changing some of the words in the game.
Well, I get it, because you can literally put anything in there, and they're not gonna have a Blizzard rep actually sit there and look through the quests, and one of them might have a bunch of obscene things in it. You don't know.
Yeah, you're right. I guess they could put whatever they wanted in it.
Right.
But I mean, it's up to that person to have that add-on or not. Like, you're not, everybody that plays World of Warcraft isn't forced to download that add-on and change it. It's only if you wanted it. I mean, I could see if it was something that they were trying to like hardline into the game to where like everybody had to use it. But if it's an add-on, it's up to that discretion of that person, and you kind of get what you get when you download it. So, like, I mean, like I said, it's their business, their company. I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, let people do what they want.
I think it was specifically a question of IP and protection, and I guess it's more lawyers who would be worried than them being very pissed at the fact that someone is just rewriting the quest text. It's just they probably had to do that,
right?
Because I think
and they've definitely
I think to remember that Bellular said that he actually contacted some of the devs, and they gave him a green signal to say, well, they said, okay, it's cool, your idea is very cool, go ahead, but in the end, it was more of the legal department that was not happy with it.
Yeah,
lawyers, piss hands, dude.
I remember back in the day, in Burning Crusade, there was a lot of add-ons that would not be allowed today. Like, I specifically had an add-on where when I would get into PvP combat in World PvP, it would start playing the Mortal Kombat music. And I know stuff like that isn't allowed anymore because of copyright and all that. So I just thought it was funny how open it was before, but now they've definitely tightened the rope around on that. So, but other than that, so the extended version, are you guys continuing to, I mean, you just said the storyline thing you guys are working on, but are you guys continuing to expand that into more and more and more things?
Yeah, so there is a lot of features on our to-do list for extended. The add-on itself, extended, came out of ground very quickly because actually the other developers, Telco Strive, he actually decided to not work 1 day a week for several months to focus the whole day on the add-on, and he made a Kickstarter back then to like compensate, and we had a lot of participation, and it was a very great project. And so that's why 1 day a week full time you would work on it. So the add-on came very quickly, but now it's in the rhythm of being a hobby. So I have my daily job, and I just come back to home at the end of the day, and sometimes I'm motivated, sometimes I'm not. So it's just like
I get it.
Features are coming slowly, but there is, so for example, so I added the macro effect to run a macro, but some people that are very versed with Lua want to be able to actually write Lua code to be executed on items. There is also people who want the language feature back, basically tongues, another add-on. So there is a lot of stuff on our to-do list. There is also people that have always been requesting a combat system, and I have always said no because everyone has their rules, and whatever we are doing, it's not gonna be what anyone wants. But I still, at some point, want to maybe try to do one, and maybe some people might like it. So
I think that would be good if there's some kind of way to be able to customize your own like D&D or D20 system within TRP, and then you can click buttons to kind of execute the code for that certain role or whatever. I think that would be pretty cool.
For the whole D&D part, there is this add-on called Dice Master, which is made by someone else, and they interact with the major RP add-on to get your roleplay name and everything. And it's really meant as a D&D add-on where you have like characteristics where you put points in, you have some specific slots of spells that you want to use, and you can roll dice, and it's very, very well done, great UI. So also there is stuff out there, which means that kind of stuff is on the back burner for me because it's not as urgent as some other features.
Yeah. How about you? Do you still play WoW? Do you still get on and actually play the game?
So I took a break at the end of December, but I still play. I've been playing for 14 years.
Same.
This year, I'm actually gonna reach the point where World of Warcraft has been in my life more than not. So it's really hard to stop at that point. It's like I cannot stop because I have so much stuff, and I have the community. I've made friends at Blizzard, so I kind of owe to them to continue. I mean, after this break, I really like the game now. I just need to. I feel like I need to take it less seriously than the previous expansion, but I still feel the game is quite enjoyable. As for the role-playing part, it's been a really long time since I have role-played. I don't have it in me anymore, so I'm still doing roleplay add-on, but I don't feel like spending my evening in Stormwind talking to people about roleplay. I stopped.
It does take a long time, and I agree with you. Like when I was younger and I had more time, I could do that and I could have fun with it. But these days, I still partake every once in a while, but it's definitely a lot less per day or a lot less per week that I actually sit down and
it
RP.
takes so long. Like you have to be willing to invest hours not only in game but out of game. Like I remember when you were doing like a campaign a couple years ago, like you weren't even in the game, you were like writing stuff out on Word. I was like, God, that's so much time investment for something that you do inside the game that you're having to prep for out of it. It's just too much for me.
Well, yeah, but like a lot of people that don't RP, friends that I have that play WoW that don't RP and look at it as a complete waste of time. It's the same as anything else, any TV show or anything else. If you're having fun with it, then it's worth it to you, and that's all that matters. So it's, but you know, I agree. That's just, you know, the community itself. There's just less WoW players, which means there's less role players, and because of that, the community itself isn't as immersive as it used to be. You know,
on the French servers, there are servers that are RP servers that don't even have any roleplay hubs or anything. There is one main role-playing server on the French realms, but that's it. And if you're not on this server, you basically have to roleplay within your guild because you're not gonna find people somewhere that are role-playing and you can just walk in.
Yeah, that's a whole different dynamic of US, because, you know, on the US servers, there's, I think, 2 servers that are Brazilian and everything else is, you know, English, you know, American or Australian. So it's all in English, so it makes roleplay a lot more welcoming in a community sense. But in Europe, I could see that being an issue if you don't know other languages. Like, I'm sure there's German servers, I'm sure there's Dutch servers, English servers. You know, there's all kinds of different languages, and it just cuts up the community into those languages.
Indeed.
It's tough.
Ripperinos, dude. I don't know. Our RP servers on US are so fractured anyways. We have like 1 or 2, maybe 3 big RP servers, and it's all done within the guild anyways because everybody hates everybody at this point. So
yeah, I mean, that happens, you know. But no, I mean, it's the one of the biggest thing. I'm on Moonguard Alliance, and the Moonguard Alliance is very populated. And then if you want to play Horde for role play, you go to Wormrest Accord, and it's very, very fractured on cross faction or anything like that. But that's another question I had, and it was also a user question from someone on the server. Have you heard of the add-on Cross RP?
Yeah. Actually, I was following its development. We had a lot of talk with its developer. We are on the same Discord server and we talk a lot. Yeah, I have heard of it.
Yeah.
It's basically interacting with every other RP add-on around here.
Yeah.
It's good that it exists because I don't think any of us developers of each individual add-on would like to develop this kind of feature. I know that personally, personally, this feature that it introduced is relying on such, let's say, a weak technology. Basically, it was already broken once with the communities. Now it's using a different system, so it's flirting with the edges, or I don't know how to say that, but I wouldn't invest much time to do this kind of feature. But it's good that it exists, I think, because it's very useful for especially cross faction events.
Yeah.
What is the purpose of it?
Basically, you're able to see profiles, because right now, you know, without cross RP, you're not able to see profiles from the other the other faction. So this allows that to happen, and it also allows you to understand, from what I understand, because I don't have it, but you can also talk to people across faction as well.
Oh, that'd be nice.
That was before they broke it. Now, if you want to actually talk to people, you have to use the potion that they introduced in the Legion Dalaran in the sewers. So you don't need the add-on to do that anymore. You have this potion that allows you to understand people from the other faction. But the add-on,
they put a potion in the game?
Yeah, it's in the sewers. There is this goblin that is selling potions, and it's like, I think, 20 gold the potion, and it's 1 hour of you understanding the faction. When they introduced it was bugged a bit, and you could speak to the other faction, but they don't want that because that's a great way to introduce griefing. So now you can only understand them. So it's a opt-in for you to understand what people might want to tell you.
That's odd.
That's weird how that would work.
But I didn't even know that, so I guess you learn something new every day.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't even know that was in the game.
Yeah, it's the way it was introduced is a little bit a sore spot, because basically they broke the way. Well, they said it's not meant to broke cross RP, but basically it was broken by 8.1, and then we had no news, no information, and then a few days later there is a Q&A, and Ion just say, "Oh yeah, it's not intended, and we're gonna launch a potion."
It was intended for sure.
Yeah, but that's basically the relationship that we have with Blizzard most of the time, is that we are dependent on them, and we get what we can get.
Right.
Yeah. There was an interesting dynamic on Moonguard at one point. The Alterac Kingdom, Eldrazi?
Yeah.
The Eldrazi. On Moonguard, for the longest time, the Alterac Kingdom, or anyone that roleplayed that they were from there, actually had French names. They had French accents when they spoke in game.
Mm-hmm.
And they made them like the French Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. But that was just what role players did that were from Eldrazi, and I think that's kind of floated away at this point. But I think it's interesting how we, in America, put just like different nationalities to the different kingdoms. I guess it makes sense. But
do you guys have a kingdom that sound like Americans?
Actually, we have the Ghanaian people, which are like English, but I guess that's the same for everyone. The British accent.
Gotcha.
You said the Gilnan or Jilnan? Yeah. You said Gilnan?
Yeah, Gilnan. Okay. But the sad truth is that in French, everything is dubbed in French, and we don't have much diversity of accent. Culturans, Ghanaian, and every human sounds French, basically.
All right.
Yeah. Well, it's not the actual in-game, like how the in-game voice acting or anything works. It's just how the role players role-played it.
Mm-hmm.
They would have super French names and speak that way, but
isn't the new elves of the Horde, I don't know their name in English, the purple elves,
the Nightborn?
Yeah, aren't they supposed to have like some French culture? Because I think some names like Valtroy, some names are very French.
Yeah,
it sounds pretty French.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I play Alliance, so I don't know if that's how they role play on Horde, but that would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because they do have that French names. I have noticed that. But I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we'll since I already asked one user question, I might as well just go through the questions that the users came up with.
Shoot.
About TRP. So one thing that was a suggestion from one user was, when we're editing a profile, is there a way that we can get a preview before submitting? Because there's a lot of people that want to see what it looks like, after it's edited, how people would see it before they actually save it.
Mm-hmm. I'm guessing it's more the description part, which is some kind of freeform text where you have like HTML tags kind of, because the other part is basically how it's going to look like the main part. So for the description, indeed, there is no preview. That's actually a very nice idea. I don't know how I would make it in the UI, because you need the room. Most of the time you have the window open and it's actually quite big. So you would need some place to do that. But yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, I personally don't need that, because I mean, I understand some people may, they may want to look at it like how it's going to look when someone hovers over them.
You're talking about the little chat box that pops up with their name and stuff?
Well, not only that, but if you actually click on someone's profile, it's a different UI than it is when you're editing it.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So they want to see what it would look like if someone else were to preview their profile before they submit it officially.
It's basically the same if you're saving it. I think there is not much difference because the UI is mostly reused. So if you save your profile, you have what everyone is going to see.
Yeah. Like for me personally, the only part that I would need a preview for is like, the title section underneath your name.
Mm-hmm.
That part, however you type it in there, sometimes one of your titles may be cut in half when you're hovering over your character profile in the bottom right corner of the screen. So like, that's the only part that I would see where that would apply, where you want to make sure it's all nice and symmetrical, since I'm OCD. But I can see it there.
a lot of these fields are actually very opinionated, and this
Yeah.
field is supposed to have one title. But I know that many people put way more than one title in this.
Yeah, Hassan. He has like 15 in there. I'm like,
No,
what the F, dude?
I do have like 7 or something like that, and I'm not even one of the worst.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of I've seen people with 15 titles
That's so
easily.
crazy.
Mhm.
But yeah, I do understand it's only for one title. It's just I don't know. I feel like having a lot of titles makes it look more full of things in the profile.
Makes you feel cool.
Not everyone is Khaleesi.
Dude, I'm gonna start calling you Khaleesi now, dude. Every time I see that on your screen.
No, but the field actually is one. It's a one-line text field, not like a text box with multiple lines. So it's based. I mean, normally it should incentivize people to only have one line of titles, but yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
it uses like the text wrap feature.
Yeah, but I guess that's also the beauty of role playing, is that we give you this canvas and everyone is going crazy, and then you have to introduce features to remove people from introducing crazy icon and colors in their tooltips because they're going very crazy.
Yeah, we have a couple wild ones here.
Okay, so the next user question is kind of also a suggestion. So have you guys considered adding in Warcraft 3 or Heroes of the Storm icons for TRP3? Or is that even allowed?
So it is allowed by the API of the game to add any kind of texture, icons, whatever, to the add-on, as long as we provide them when you download the add-on. Of course, content that is copyrighted cannot be freely used. So for the Warcraft icons, probably not. Also, I would say no to this feature now, especially because icons are now compatible with My Roleplay and XRP. So people who are using those add-ons can see your personal icon. And that means that if we were to bundle our own icons for them to be displayed on the other end by people using those add-ons will need to bundle the same icons, because you are not transferring the file, you are just transferring the address of the file. So that would start a very annoying back and forth between all add-ons to all align on what icon to bundle and to update at the same time. So that's why we are only limiting ourselves to the icons that are available within the game, because everyone can access the icons within the game.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that would be a lot of hassle for that one guy that wanted like a...
Yeah, tell him to get wrecked, dude.
That one guy that wanted like Thrall from Heroes of the Storm as his icon.
There are like to be that cool. 26,000 icons, so you gotta find one.
There's plenty to choose from.
That's what you need.
Yeah, I mean, I know like every time I start looking through icons for a new character or something, I get like 100 or something through, and I'm like, all right.
Yeah, dude, I get so overwhelmed. Like I'll just start scrolling. I'm like, where does this end? Like, I think it goes by class now. Like it goes by like class and then spec.
Oh yeah, you can put in like warrior, and it'll bring up all warrior icons and and like gear from warriors and things like that. But
there's so many, it's insane.
Yeah, we had this icon picker feature at some point where if you have a spell or an item, you could like control click on the spell or item, and you could use that icon directly. So if you're a mage and you have a specific spell that you want to use the exact same icon instead of looking for it, but they change how files are used in Legion, I believe, and so this feature is gone. But,
oh man!
Thankfully, we have a search box, unlike the macro UI.
Yeah, if you didn't have that search box, I would be picking way worse icons because I wouldn't look through all of it. But so does that get updated? Like with every patch, there's new items and new icons and things like that.
Yeah, I have a script on my end that I can just run, and so basically, the game allows you to export the textures so you can work with them. Because, for example, when we make Total Roleplay 3, we need to know the address to the textures to know how to make borders and buttons and everything. So the game allows you to export the exact file hierarchy And so you can get all the icons in a weird format, but you can get them all. So basically, when there is a new patch, I just export all the UI. I have a script that just lists some icons. Some of the icons in the icon folder are not icons because some people put stuff in the wrong places. So my script also blacklists a few weird textures, and then it spits out a huge list of icons that I can use directly inside the add-on.
Yeah. Yeah, so the next question is just the implementing cross RP into TRP3, but you answered that. And then the last one from users here is, are there any plans for a TRP4, or is it going to be all put into TRP3 extended?
So I had actually, it's actually very recent, those thoughts, because I was looking back and Total RP3 is about to get as old as Total RP2 was when Total RP3 was introduced. So one could say that it's due for an update. The thing is, it took, maybe 2 years to get feature parity. So I don't know if I would jump on a Total RP4 right now, especially not knowing how the game will go in the upcoming years.
Yeah.
But me personally, so my friend who made Total RP, the very first one, and who asked me to join him to do Total RP3, he's not working on the add-on anymore. And me on my end, in my daily job and in Lua, I learned a lot and I have way more knowledge and skills now. So there is a lot of things that I would do very differently from the very beginning. So I would sometimes I'm thinking about, if I could start from the beginning, I would change that and do that. And so it could make sense, but for now, the future is too uncertain. And what we have right now still feels very fresh to me, even if it's like 4 years. So
I completely agree. Like there isn't anything that I'm looking at TRP3 and I'm like, oh, this looks so outdated. You know?
Yeah, well, you're not looking at the code.
Well, okay, yeah, that's true. But there's probably things that in the code look very outdated. But yeah, I mean, what I would suggest if you ever do plan to do a TRP4 is do a Kickstarter or a GoFundMe, just like the other guy did, just because there's obviously a community for it. There's obviously people that want to help to create something like that, and the person that's making it should be compensated. Like,
should be compensated for it.
Yeah,
daily.
Like,
I mean,
that's impressive by itself that you want to work on this as a hobby. I mean, like, you're a better person than I am, because I wouldn't do that.
No, I wouldn't say that. I do get a lot of enjoyment from doing it, because it's basically, I'm a programmer because I like to solve problems, to solve like very intricate issues. And well, Lua is a big one. So I do get a lot of enjoyment, especially when I wake up one morning and I'm like, oh, I think I have an idea how to finally get macros to be executed within items, because I can use this and this, and if I do that in the right order, then I can get macros to actually be executed. And then I do it, and well, basically I spend my entire day not eating or whatever and just doing it like a mad scientist. And then it works, and I get such an enjoyment. So I also do it for myself. I'm not just a selfless developer. I do love what I do, and I do love also having the community around me. I do love that I had interaction with Blizzard. I had Ion Azikostas DMing me on Twitter. Like, it's very rewarding. Nice. So I'm not doing that like freely. I do get rewarded.
Yeah. I mean, you have. I mean, that's what you have to get to. You know, if you're not getting compensated through.
Actually, I did have a Patreon at some point. I have.
Is it still going?
No, I stopped it for the new year because. So with the game being less enjoyable during the start of winter, it was actually very bad on my health for me to have the feeling that I have to work on the add-on because I'm getting paid via Patreon. So I liked seeing how people were very supportive, and I would do monthly videos saying what I'm working on, what I will be working on. I did a poll on what features to do next. So that was very nice. But the issue is that when I am not motivated to work, then it turns into a job instead of a hobby. and it has this
Right.
this negative circle of me feeling bad because I feel like I have to do, and since I feel bad, I'm not feeling like doing it, and it's not productive, so I just stopped it.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a good person right there, because I think most people would just leave the Patreon up and not work on it and take the money. So, like, kudos to you for turning that off. Like, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. Like I said earlier, I did go to school for coding, but I never got to that point where I could sit down and actually know from my knowledge how to solve something. Like I would have to do a lot of research to like actually solve something. And I'm sure like even experienced programmers still have to look things up, and like in coding there's a lot of copying. There's a lot of copying from other things, copying little functions here or there, but it's, I never got to that point where I could sit down and actually figure something out, and it was a lot of frustration because of that.
You quit, dude. You're a quitter.
I quit. Yeah, it was, I don't know, that kudos to you, man.
Thanks.
So other than that, I actually want to touch on something you said earlier. The Khaleesi thing. Are you excited for Game of Thrones coming up?
I am. Actually, it's coming back on my birthday, so I'm very happy about it.
Nice.
Wait, when's your birthday?
14th of April. I think it's the 13th in the US, but we will get it the day after anyway.
Okay.
Oh yeah, because they're EU. They get everything the day after.
Yeah.
Sucks to suck.
Except methods still beat limit in the
still world first.
Still world first and world second. Yeah. For some reason, because my birthday is March 31st, and for some reason I thought someone said that it was coming out like that day, but they were wrong, I guess.
Yeah,
I think it was April.
Yeah, it's definitely April, right? with the new teaser trailer. I'm pretty sure it did say coming back in April. So
this is the last one, right? Like once this is over, it's over.
Yeah.
Ugh, sad, dude.
And then, like I know a lot of people have said this. I'm just gonna say it again, but I really, really think they either need to make a TV series or a movie with cinematic graphics from Warcraft.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that would just be amazing, because like these BFA Battle for Azeroth cinematics that have been coming out, to touch on the lore and everything, have been amazing. I love them. I've watched them like hundreds of times because I'm a weirdo. But yeah, they've been awesome. So I would love to see something like that.
They don't need something like all CGI. They can do like the Warbringer that they did, something like kind of anime. That would be very nice. And I mean, it's still resources to allocate, but I would eat that all day.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I enjoyed the Warbringer stuff, that style, but I think to get like the a really captive audience, because like a lot of people didn't even know about Lord of the Rings before the movies came out, and then the movies came out and all of a sudden everyone's on board. Same with Game of Thrones. Like I didn't even know about the Game of Thrones books until the show came out. So it's one of those things. The Warcraft movie just didn't do the Warcraft universe justice.
It was so bad. Well, I can't say it was so bad. Like it was a good movie, but like because I'm a fan of Warcraft and Blizzard, but for anybody that was watching that had no idea what it was, just because they enjoy that type of story arc, like I'm sure that pushed them away. They're like, "This is garbage." Like what?
Yeah. So I mean, I know it did. I think it did a lot better in Europe actually than it did here. I don't know.
Liked it,
but yeah, it wasn't, like I said, as a movie, it wasn't bad, but it's just not what the Warcraft universe is capable of, especially with all the lore and everything. It could have been a lot more rich than that.
And Dalaran was flying.
I know. It shouldn't have been.
Yeah, and I mean, there was a lot of little lore things that I was like, what is going on here? But it's.
The nerds of the game are like a dying breed, though. So most of the people that would know that Dalaran shouldn't have been flying, like there's not very many of us left that are still playing the game that care.
Yeah, I know, but like the millions and millions of people that have played Warcraft over all this time that have quit would still be interested in
I think so, for sure.
Well-written movie, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to Game of Thrones and that, but sadly I agree with you that the state of the game is in decline, and hopefully it can get better. But from what I've heard, because I went to PAX West and I've talked to a few people that are on the inside with Blizzard devs, and they're saying there's 1 or 2 expansions left. And that actually sounds about right to me, because I don't know what else we could really fight soon, you know. So
unless it's each other.
Well, I mean, that's what we're doing right now.
Exactly.
But it doesn't mean that they have to make the game bad just so that we don't feel bad when it ends. It could end on a good note.
Yeah.
Right. I just think they honestly need to just make World of Warcraft 2 and update everything, because I think that's the biggest downfall for me of the game. I like the look of the game generally, but there's just a lot of things coding wise too that are just way outdated.
Yeah, there are some quests where you can feel that they're using old tech to try to make some quest interactive, but you're basically just clicking an object.
Yeah. Yeah, like, you know, when what was it in Legion, there's that quest in Azuna where you follow that prince, the ghost, Prince Ferrandis, and there's a part where the Naga is dragging you and you're literally laying on the floor and there's like a rope and it just drags you on it looks horrible, you know. There's just little things like that that are just so outdated in nowadays, you know, gaming, and it's
people want an updated game.
Yeah, people want an update. And another thing, like the regular backpack, from what I've heard, the coding is so deeply entrenched that they can't actually expand how big the backpack is.
I don't believe it either.
Yeah, if they were able to give you 4 more slots for adding some SMS protection on your account, they are able to give you 4, 5, 8, 10 more slots.
Whatever they want. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it might just because they don't want to.
Yeah,
you know,
I can believe that it was difficult. They made it, but no, they have no excuse to give 4 instead of 8, for example.
Yeah,
right.
The technology
exactly.
is there
like
now.
Yeah, I mean, you could just add it to a profession, and then there you go. You know,
they just keep saying they don't want you to feel like you have to carry all this stuff around. It's not about wanting to carry everything around. It's literally like when I'm out doing stuff, I don't want to have to stop and get rid of it and then come back.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like they're just kind of getting lazy, and I don't know. It's all. I mean, it has to do. It's a business. They have to make money, and I know it's all about profit with you know, time invested into it. You know, you have to make a certain amount of money with it. You know, they don't want to develop teams to, you know, fix every little nitpicky thing. But like when your community is asking for particular things, like they're gonna have to start listening. And I think they're starting to figure that out now, that people are leaving because Blizzard isn't answering the questions that they want. But I don't know. Like, I'm sad to see the game end. Even if it's in, you know, 2 more expansions, I'll be sad to see it go. But, like, I want it to be a fun ride all the way to the end. I don't want them to make me mad and not play the last expansion because it's just terrible.
Yeah. That was the worst part of the sentiment that I have in December when I wanted to take a break, is that I didn't want to quit the game. I was not prepared to quit the game. There was this expansion with Anduin, and I'm just a big fan of him, and I wanted to like be involved in the story. And then the game made me want to quit, but I was not ready to want to quit. And thankfully, I'm a little bit back on the game, but I don't want the game to force me to quit.
Yeah, I actually took a break too from like end of October to January. For the same reason. Like, there was a lot of little things, like this is going to sound really, I guess, dumb, especially from you'll understand from a role player standpoint. But the biggest issue I had with this whole expansion is there's no class specific tier sets. So we don't get, you know, those unique sets from, you know, Elite PvP or Mythic, because all cloth wearers get the same set.
It's
and
so garbage.
Yeah, it's pure laziness. Do what?
The Uldir one, they were not very good either, so it even enforced this issue. But I mean, it's one of the reasons. But I think the issue is that it's a death by 1,000 papercuts. It's just there is no one big thing that is wrong, but there are so many things that at the end you're just tired of fighting.
Yeah. It's nitpicky, but there's so many nitpicks that it wears you down after a while.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I had a ton of fun. We're gonna go ahead and go into our random question.
Oh, you had one ready already? I forgot you didn't even ask me when you got here.
I did have one ready. Yeah. It's really simple. It's our random question of the day is for the Alliance or for the Horde?
For the Alliance, for Undoing.
Yeah.
That's right.
For sure.
That's
Absolutely.
right. We're all in agreement here. We don't need any orcs. We're all good.
Or Banshee.
Or Banshee for sure.
Yeah. What, man, that whole I feel partly that they ruined Sylvanas' character, but I hope they have something coming to fix that in the story. Because if she's just that bad of a person, then I don't like where they took her. But.
Yeah. There's a reason I don't think we've seen it yet. Or, well, I guess that's what I'm hoping for anyways.
Yeah, you don't know anything, Nathan.
Yeah, I'm an idiot, so what do I know?
But other than that, man, I like I said, I had a lot of fun. If people wanted to reach out to you, I don't know if you have any way of people to donate to you or anything like that, but if people want to reach you on social media or give you suggestions or ask questions or anything like that, where can they reach you?
So if you go to totalrp3.info, there is a website and you have link to go to Curse to download, and at the bottom there is links to my Twitter account. If you want to donate, actually, a little known fact, Curse supports donation and it goes directly to PayPal and they don't take any percentage on it. And it's
nice.
It's on the Curse page of the add-on, and many add-ons do have a donation button. So if you have an add-on that you really like and you're like, okay, you can give like $2, $3, $4 to someone, and it's still like a good token of faith that their add-on is being used and they are not doing something for no one. So it's good.
Right.
Yeah. All right, man. Awesome. Other than that, we will see you guys next week.
Goodbye.
Hey, you. Yes, you. Thank you so much for listening to the episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and even if you didn't, we would love to hear your feedback, which can be sent to coldonepodcast@gmail.com or leave us a review on iTunes. It helps us gauge how we can make this podcast better for your enjoyment. If you would like to contact us, you can do that through our email or follow us on social media, which is @coldonepodcast for Twitter and Facebook. We are now on Spotify as well as most podcast apps in existence, but if you prefer to listen to it online, head on over to our website, actionsperminute.net, for the latest episodes, a link to the APM Network Discord, or to check out any of our APM-sponsored streamers. And lastly, if you like what we do, tell your friends and spread the good word. Thank you again, and remember, don't drink and drive.